We jump things into the first topic of conversation here, folks, and it's, why should fans, or should Alabama fans, should you guys be able to trust Pete Golding at defensive coordinator and trust this defense for the 2020 season? And for a lot of you Tide fans out here, the idea is, if I was to go to Las Vegas, right, or if I was to go to Biloxi, Mississippi, I'm not the gambling type, but let's just say, I went there and I'm playing the slot machine, right? Do I have enough trust and enough faith in Pete Golding and this defense to play the slot machine and this group can get me to a national championship? Or if I'm feeling even more frisky, and I try to go over there and play the crap table over there, and I'm trying to roll 7-11 or whatever the big numbers are nowadays. And do I feel like I can trust, or do you as the fan base feel like you can trust Pete Golding and this Alabama defense enough to where if you were to play the crab table and you're rolling and you're feeling hot, do you feel like you can hit 7-11 every time, with this Alabama defense? And the reason why a lot of you are asking these questions is you go back and you look at the last two seasons, 2018, where Alabama wins the SEC championship. It gets to the college football playoff. It takes on Clemson in the national championship game against a freshman quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, a freshman wide receiver in one Justin Ross, and Alabama was not able to get the consistent pass rush to the quarterback, which is the reason why Trevor Lawrence had a field day throwing the football. And then, of course, this past season where Alabama not able to beat LSU, not able to beat Auburn, does not win the SEC title, misses out on the college football playoff for the first time since 2014, doesn't win or doesn't even compete for a national championship. And even though injuries played a huge role in that, the last 2 years really bothered, really angered, really upset, Alabama fans. So you guys wonder, can we trust, should we trust Pete Golding? Should we trust this defense in it, getting us back to the national championship and winning it? And I'm going to tackle the first part of this question in Pete Golding first, because two of the guys that people have great respect for as one point in time coordinators at Alabama, that would be Kirby Smart and Jeremy Pruitt. People have great respect for those two individuals, those two men, as they're now head coaches in the conference. Both of these two did not win national championships in their first season under the main, tag of defensive play caller or defensive schemer or defensive coordinator. They did not win a national championship in their first season. The first season for Kirby Smart was 2008. He didn't get one. The first season for Jeremy Pruitt was 2016. He did not get one. Despite how great the 2016 defense was, by the way. But both guys, year two was the charm for them. Year two in 2009 for Kirby Smart, national championship. Year two for Jeremy Pruitt, 2017, national championship. So Pete Golding is in some pretty darn good company right now, because 2018, though that was his first year at Alabama, he was the co-DC. He shared things with Tosh Lupoy. Last year was his first year as the primary play caller. This is about to be, year two for him. So Golding's in pretty good company now. But in terms of the second part of this question, can you trust this Alabama defense in terms of the players on the field? I'm going to go at that, like this. And how when Alabama's had players to go off to the NFL draft or leave because of graduation, and you as the fans, you kind of look at everybody leaving, you're going, oh man, he gone? We're losing him? We just saw Tiny Tim have a great year. He leaving us? Lil Mo with the gimpy leg, he finally was able to turn up and now he gone? We losing Big Mike over here? Like, the cupboard's bare. Like, what the heck is going on? Like, you lose players to the draft. You lose players to to graduation. And I remember between the years of 2016 and the 2016 to 2018 draft, Alabama lost 18 players to the league. And, these were the players where you had a lot of stock in. These were the Reuben Fosters, the Reggie Raglins, the Ashawn Robinsons, the Jaron Reeds, the Jonathan Allens, the Tim Williams, the Ryan Andersons, the Eddie Jacksons, the Minka Fitzpatricks, all of these guys that had, weight on their names that you trusted, that you depended on, that you relied on. And when they all started leaving back and forth, you're like, man, I hate he gone. I would love to have another year with him. I would love for Bama to have another year with him. I would love for Bama to have another year with that player and that player. And, you looked around and it was like that scene from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where Will Smith walks in the house and he looks around and everything's gone. And Will is completely depressed as he looks around and everything's gone. That's how it would typically be in terms of Alabama football when you lose so many guys to the draft. And of course, you would have some fans go, well, don't feel bad. Don't be upset. Don't worry about it. Alabama's got the next 4-star, the next 5-star waiting in the wings, or just ready to go in the game and take over and replace that guy. And you have other fans going, well, can he do what Jonathan Allen did? Well, can he do what Daron Payne did? Well, can he do what that guy did? I mean, let's not make it seem like the guys that left were just chopped liver. Those guys that left were marquee guys. Can these players that you're talking about do the same things that the players that left this program did? But when you look at this past Alabama team, you're not seeing a whole lot of that because, let's just be honest. From this past team, there were only two players that Alabama fans feel like, man, if we can have another year with him, man, would love to have this guy back another season. And one guy was a bit more important than the other. Both guys happened to be Xavier McKinney and Anthony Jennings. And this is no offense to Raekwon Davis, who was a good player. This is no offense to Terrell Lewis. This is no offense to Trayvon Diggs or Shaheem Carter or Jarrett Maton. But, you as fans, honestly, you don't feel that way about those guys. I mean, you don't feel like, man, I would love for Bama to have Raekwon Davis another year. Man, I would love for Alabama to have Terrell Lewis another year. I would love for Trayvon Diggs or Shaheem or Jarrett Maton to be back another year. I mean, although those guys were good players, you just don't feel like that because when the games mattered, right? When the lights were at their brightest, right, and we were looking for Raekwon Davis to just rip the quarterback's head completely off his body, he did not show up in those games against LSU and Auburn. He just did not show up in terms of the stat column. The same thing for Terrell Lewis. I mean, Terrell had some good moments. He had some big moments. But when the lights were at the brightest, you were looking for T. Lou, and it was like number 24 just did not want to walk outside the front door of his house. It's kind of the same thing when you talk about, a few other guys. Now, Jarrett Maton surprisingly had a really big year. But, you really looked at Jennings and McKinney, and more so McKinney because McKinney was a junior this past season. He was kind of torn about what was he going to do. He had a huge year this past year, and then the offseason, part of McKinney was like, I got a chance to be an instant multi-millionaire if I go to the draft, but I can come back to Alabama, be reunited with, my teammates and have a chance to lead this defense to, a national championship as a starter. Of course, he chose the route to go pro, and Bama fans not disappointed in him for making that decision, but you still go, darn if we had X another year, like X with Jordan Battle. Whoo, that would be sexy. X with Jordan and Surtain, and man, if we had X back, that'd be really, really good. And, McKinney, he and Jennings were both named team captains after this past season. Of course, unfortunately, due to the coronavirus, they were not able to have their handprint and their cleat print cemented at Denny Chimes. But when you even look at Nick Saban, Nick Saban appreciated Trayvon Diggs. He appreciated Jarrett Maiden. He appreciated Carter. He appreciated Raekwon Davis and Terrell Lewis. But when Nick Saban had press conferences, and I was at every single last one of those press conferences, when Nick had press conferences and the reporters would fix their mouth to say, Coach Saban, who was those players that you could depend on? Who were those players that you could rely on? Who were those players that you knew if you had to go to the well to make something happen, these players could make something happen? And every time Nick Saban would bring up Xavier McKinney and Anthony Jennings, he would be like, man, X is such an instinctive player. I mean, he's a great guy. He does a phenomenal job playing with the box. He can play the coverage lanes. Very, very passionate player, a guy that makes big plays for us. We appreciate X for everything that he does on this football field. I mean, Xavier McKinney is a class act guy. And then he'll go to Anthony Jennings and kind of say, the exact same things. Not saying that, Raekwon or those other guys weren't good players, but McKinney and Jennings will be the main two guys coming out of Coach Saban's mouth every single time. So you lost those two main guys to the draft. But, Bama fans, the reason why you can trust this defense, all of the players that you hold in high esteem, they're all back. Like, you look at this cupboard here, you're like, Dylan Moses is still here. Joshua McMillan is still here. LeBron Ray is still here. Christian Barmore is still here. Fidarian Mathis is still here. DJ Dale is still here. Why, Christian Harris, who had a great freshman year, he's going to be even better. He's still here. Shane Lee had some great moments, and he's still here. Patrick Surtain still here. Josh Jobe still here. Daniel Wright still here. Jordan Battle in the secondary still here. So all of the main pieces that were in the cupboard, they're still there. They're still there. They're incredibly hungry. And as I mentioned, on last week's show about how, those guys saw the last 2 years when I do not pay attention to what Coach Saban and this coaching staff is requiring me to do, when I'm not locked in, when I'm not focused, when I'm not doing my job, I see what happens. I see the domino effect. I see, Alabama losing football games, which it gets on the president's nerves, the chancellor's nerves, the AD's nerves. It gets on Saban's nerves, the coach's nerves. It gets on the players' nerves, and it gets on, of course, you, the fans, because you want a team to brag about. You want something to be excited about. You want something to be hyped up about. So when we're not paying attention and we lose, everybody, is affected by it. So, Tide Nation, all of those players are back. Everybody that you have in high esteem is in that cupboard, and they're ready to go out there and do some big time things. And with Pete Golding in front of this thing, year 2, Kirby Smart didn't win in year 1, won in year 2. Jeremy Pruitt didn't win in year 1, won in year 2. So he's in some really good company. You can go with a slot machine and you can bank on this Alabama defense and Pete Golding hitting in the upcoming season. Well, we go to our first break here on the show. Don't touch that dial. We are just getting started on a Monday. Upon our return, we unpack your phone calls, your questions, your tweets, your thoughts, your chats, your concerns, and it's coming after this.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care, in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99, and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month, or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best in Alabama football content, subscribe here. and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.